Nowadays, it seems like the whole internet is trying to convince you to travel, me included. But there is a very dark side to solo traveling that no one talks about. In this video, I'm gonna go around like 4 or 5-ish reasons you should not travel. Hello, my name is Franco. I am 22 years old. I'm Argentinian. And I've been traveling since I was 18. So first I spent 2 years in New Zealand, then 2 years in Aussie, and now I'm here in Germany. In previous videos, I've shared the positive sides about traveling, but just to make sure that I'm being fair, I also want to talk about the negatives today. So the first point is stability. We all know that traveling brings you out of your comfort zone, but that means that you are going to be out of your comfort zone. And in the moment, it ain't that nice being out of your comfort zone. In my case specifically, I've been completely broke about 4 times before in my life. I've been extremely lonely and extremely lazy at some point since I didn't have no one to check on me and I was young and dumb. I still am young and dumb, at least less than back then. And I've also been really homesick since I hadn't seen my family for like 4 years straight. So ultimately, most of this was worth the price for me. And as I said, a lot of it comes just from me being dumb. And also part of my job here is to avoid you falling into the same traps that I did. But you need to be conscious that if you decide to travel in this way, you will experience lows that you probably would never experience in the comfort of your home. Again, super worth it though. It toughens you up like a The second negative is that it's very hard to build something up. There's a quote somewhere about travelers just being viewers, never actually being the ones living the life. And I think there is some truth to that. When you're traveling, it's very hard to build relationships and friendships, although it's not impossible, I have done it. But you are really missing that circle of friends and family that you have at home. Another point is that it's very hard to build a career this way. Again, not impossible though. So the third point is loneliness. At one point, I thought the best thing I could do was to travel in solitude. So I ended up doing that for 3 months and I thought it was going to be the solution to all of my problems. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. I ended up spending Christmas Eve alone in my car watching Netflix. I spent New Year's with people that I barely even knew and I ended up smoking fags like it was nourishment. So this one is easy to avoid, but it's also easy to get into. Me personally, I was caught up in the whole romanticism from movies like Into the Wild, actually completely missing the point of the movie. I'll make a future video about this soon, so make sure to stick around to watch that. So question, is traveling a medium or an end? Maybe let me know in the comments what you think and why, but yeah, I'll just give my answer right now. Ultimately, it comes down to this. Traveling is not an activity in and of itself. The activity can be either driving or hiking or running or walking or exploring the city, like city traveling, also known as partying. But this needs to be clear from the beginning. You need an excuse to travel. So there's many things that can provide this excuse. For me, it was a combination of driving, hiking, photography, and videography. But if this is not clear to you from the beginning, you can become one of those people just smoking pot at the hostel all day, waiting for someone to come for you to talk to, or just harassing the common area, waiting to make friends. Now, this is not that bad in and of itself, unless it is the only thing filling you up. So the last point is looking for answers outside of yourself. And this is by far the most important one and the most dangerous one. So for example, in my case, when I left Argentina, I didn't leave it in the best mindset. I was not very happy with myself. I was not very happy with how I had ended high school. I was not very happy with my family and I wasn't very happy with my friends and I wasn't happy with my country. Then months later, when I was in Tauranga and I wasn't really happy with my situation, I decided to leave elsewhere to see if I could solve my problems that way. Sometime later, I was in Queenstown and again, I wasn't very happy with my situation, so I thought I would go to Hastings to see if I could solve my problems there. Notice a pattern? Traveling teaches us many valuable life lessons, but it also teaches us a fallacy that one needs to take into consideration. When it becomes so easy to travel and to just hop from place to place, one starts learning something which is not true, which is that you can solve your problems by changing your environment. stop this. As you probably already know, the solution to all your problems is within yourself. If you can't be happy at home, there's a high chance that you won't be able to be happy outside. I linked to a video from another YouTube channel that explains this very well. I'm not saying don't leave. Obviously, I love traveling. You shouldn't leave for the wrong reasons. If you're not very happy with your situation, you need to make sure, you need to be 200% sure that you've given your everything, your full effort in making that situation work. And you need to be completely sure that it is the situation that is f***ed up and not you. So next I want to talk about the Chronicle Traveler, and one of my greatest fears in life is becoming this person. So I've met many Chronicle Travelers across my life, the most notorious one being an old guy who was about 80 years old in the ski resort where I was working at. He was doing exactly the same job as me. He was my supervisor, but basically did the same thing, which was cleaning toilets, passing the vacuum cleaner and all that sort of stuff. It was very, very clear, he wasn't even hiding it, that he wasn't happy with his life. He would constantly talk about his sister and how she had built a whole life for herself in Sydney, and how he was here and his whole life just revolved around snowboarding and playing golf. And he didn't even really have enough money to sustain himself, so he still needed to work cleaning toilets at 80 years old. Maybe playing golf and snowboarding sounds cool if you're 20 years old, but I think after a certain point you need a bit of stability and you need a bit of chilling because your body just can't take it anymore. I've also met a couple of retirees. Well, they weren't retirees because they were still working. They did not have enough money to support themselves, so they just lived in a camper van and they would travel from orchard to orchard doing supervisor jobs. And it can be kind of cool just working on a seasonal basis, just working like a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then having enough money to travel and then having a small vacation before your next job. But again, after a certain age, you just don't want to be doing these physical jobs anymore. You want to be able to sustain yourself, have a certain cushion. Maybe another example of this would be ski instructors. This is a good one actually, because being a ski instructor is an amazing job. I would love to be a ski instructor. But again, I think past the age of 40, you probably wouldn't want to be constantly going out into the cold. You probably don't want to be doing a physical job anymore. And anything that depends on your body is just, it's eventually going to give. And if you can't do that job, what are you going to be able to do? Maybe a less extreme example of this is many people that I've met that were around 30 years old and they didn't have a dime to their name. They were just as broke as I was, only that I was 18 and they were 30. So conclusion, should you travel after hearing all of this? Really, it's completely up to you. I can't answer that question for you, but for me, the definite answer is still yes. After traveling in this lightweight way for around 4 years, I've now switched to a more sustainable form of travel. As I explained in the previous video, I have a job here in Berlin. I'm set here in Berlin. I travel whenever my work allows it, and in 2 months in Germany, I've already been to around 10 different places in Germany itself. Plus, I've already been to Austria and to Holland. I'll still go out for weekend adventures. I'll still do this sort of stuff, but I am going to focus a little bit more on building my own life and making sure that I am set for when retirement comes and all of that. But I probably wouldn't appreciate any of this nearly as much if it hadn't been for those years that I spent doing working holiday in New Zealand and Australia. All of these experiences, they made me who I am. They made me appreciate life in a completely different way, appreciate this apartment in a completely different way. Honestly, I owe everything to that 18-year-old Franco that decided to travel to the other end of the world 4 years ago. Let me know yourself. Would you like to travel? If yes, where to? If you want to see why I'm so grateful about my travels, watch this video or maybe this one. See ya.